Welcome everyone to today's social system mapping deep dive session for May 15th, 2022. You can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Your hosts today are me, Christine Capra, co-founder of sumApp and Greater Than the Sum, and Kara Martner, who's our producer and tech support person. And just briefly what this is, for those of you who haven't joined us before, it's really a vision about a possibility, the possibility being that social system mapping can help communities and networks become self-organizing more quickly and be more effective in their transformation efforts. It's a learning opportunity for everyone who's interested in learning more about social system mapping, whether it's the technical aspects or the social aspects, the sense-making piece, the process, any of that stuff. We're all learning together, and it's a community of practice. So there's a group of us who sort of are focused time and energy on figuring out how to do this work better and how to make this possibility that we sense, how to lean into that and how to make it become a reality more than what we've seen so far. So we're just trying to continue to grow the field and the practice. So social system mapping is core, but we're not all mappers. We're also people who are interested in the social processes of transformation and applying those to maps, as well as the technical pieces. So there's a lot of different angles that we're looking at this from, and a lot of different angles that members of the community are bringing to the work. So today we're going to do a kind of a fun, interesting thing, and Mary Roscoe and Jim Best are going to be leading you in this exploration today, and Amy Moritz has some parts to contribute to that. So I'm going to just go ahead and hand it off to them and let them take it away and stop sharing.
Okay, thanks, Christine. So yeah, today's a deep dive, and it's about Mary's work. And Mary asked me to facilitate because I got really interested in her work, and so we've kind of moved each other along in this. But it's about Mary's work, and she has put her work into Coda, which is a repository for information that we use here. And Amy is going to walk us through how to use Coda and what it looks like and so forth. So that's the flow of it. But basically, in a second, Amy's going to jump in, take us through that, and then hand it over to Mary, who is going to show you the work that she's done there. And then we'll do some breakouts, reflections around the work, looking at it, and then we'll have some open discussion. So that's the plan. And I just wanted to say that you know, Mary started doing this work, which is a survey of the maps that people have brought to these on-ramps and have come into this community. And, you know, we get this sort of in a serial way. And Mary said, well, what are we looking at here? So she's got a way that she's done that. And I got really excited because the question always comes up, you know, why map? I mean, we all sort of have this excited sense of it, and we're involved in it. And it's like, sometimes you have to answer the question really hard. And these people have answered the question over and over, 26 times, you'll see, about why people map. And in my mind, I was thinking about sort of in an organizational setting, what kind of value propositions, you know, that you would bring, and what are the benefits of the map? And people ask that and say, show me. So I was sort of working along that line, thinking and trying to sort things out for myself. And then along comes Mary. So I think that's it. Mary, do you want to add any framing to that before we hand it over to Amy to get us through?
I was just excited. This was actually an idea of Jim's, his interest in use cases. And I thought this would be an easy project to do because there's this reservoir of on-ramp presentations. And so I think I talked to Jim about the different things to collect. And I started creating worksheets for the presentations I was looking at. And then Christine came in and offered to create a spreadsheet on Coda so I could enter all of that data in. And Amy, who is, she's been a new member of our mapping team, and part of her orientation was looking at Coda. And so she's here today to give you an overview. This is the first time our community of practice has looked at Coda. So Amy, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks, Mary. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Christine. Yep, and thanks for all of that setup. I am new to the mapping team and I'm new to Coda, so I'm going to give y'all an introduction. So the newbies giving y'all an introduction to Coda if you haven't found it yet as part of our community of practice. And it is an online platform, as Jim said, that serves as the repository for all of the work of the community of practice, all of the working groups, but it is available to all of us to look, to glean from, to learn from, and to contribute to. So I'm going to share my screen and just show you how to get to it. One of the ways I would get to it. So this is just my screen where I have actually put a bookmark that gets me right to my profile for our community of practice. So y'all can see my screen, I presume. Somebody speak up if you can't. So hello, Amy. So y'all hopefully are familiar with this screen. If you have not created a profile and added yourself to our map, I'm sure Kara can provide you some information about how to do that. But if you created a profile, you have a link. Again, Kara can get you your link if you don't have it handy, that can bring you always back to your profile. So that's where I'm starting from. I can go in and I can update my profile. I can check and add some new connections. But where I want to take you is under the Maps tab. And right here, it says our Community of Practice portal. This is one of the ways you can get to this repository of all of our work. So I am clicking that and it is going to open up the Coda platform from within our community of practice. And let me just give you a brief tour of this so that after you hear from Mary today, you'll be able to get back to her work with the use cases and also just explore. So this is Coda. This is our repository. It's laid out, you can see, with visuals and images, and under each of these images, you can click on it and get a whole wealth of information. One of our colleagues, Rebecca, refers to this as a treasure trove. And so I just want to invite y'all to go here, click around, explore, see what you can find. But let me just take you into this picture here. That's the dream, our vision, just kind of show you. So I'm just going to click right on that picture. Brings me up to a whole nother set of opportunities to click around. We've got the vision for social system mapping. We've got the vision for our community of practice, the origin story. Let me take you a little bit deeper into what is social system mapping. So I'm clicking on that. And here you've got some links you can go to do some reading. You've got a video that Christine has prepared for us, other links. So I could just poke around in here just to dig in a little bit deeper to what is social system mapping. To go back where I was, I'm going to use the button here at the top, go back to our vision. And then I want to go further back just to the main page for our portal. So this is the Community of Practice portal, back to the main page. Lots of things you can go and explore. One that you might want to check out is this bucket here, is what we're up to. I'm going to click on that one. Brings you to all sorts of information about the projects and the teams that are active right now. I'm on the mapping team, as Mary has just said. We've got buckets within buckets of information. Jim's been working on some video tutorials, and you might find some information there that you find interesting. I'm just scrolling down this page. Another feature just to point out is you've got these the arrows. So if you click on the arrows, you can open the information and collapse the information. We've got the team members if we wanted to take a look at that. So just a little bit about how to navigate. I'm going to back out of all of this and get to the main screen again. You've got several buckets here I won't click on, but ways to get involved. You're invited. This is about the Monday sessions and just different ways that you can contribute. So let me show you one other feature. And over here on the left, you see the arrows? I'm going to click on that and it's going to open up a side panel. And if you're interested, you can use this view to do everything I was just showing you with the images, but you can see it in outline form. So I've collapsed the outline. I'm going to use the arrows to open the outline. I could go into that vision section using the panel. What is social system mapping? We went there already. This is the same screen. I'm just getting through it a different way. So I wanted you to know that this panel was here for navigating. And today we are going to look at the work that Mary has been doing, and it is called Exploring Use Cases. So I am just scrolling down here and getting us to Exploring Use Cases. I'll click on that. And this is where Mary is going to show us and lead us the rest of our time today. I want to show you one more feature before I turn it over to Mary. I'm going to close my panel again. If I didn't know where in this outline to look for exploring use cases, let me get us back to just a home page. I could also use the search function. So I just wanted you to know that there's a pretty good search function here. Came up with a couple of things as I started to search, exploring use cases. Yep, this is what I want. It's what Mary and Jim have been working on. So I can click on that and it will take me where we need to be. So y'all, that is just a very high level. We just wanted you to know it was available and really invite you to click around, see what you can find, see what you can learn. Thank y'all. Mary?
Amy, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I've been like stumbling around over on the left panel for a long time. And so when Amy started doing this, it's like, thank God there's order here. I know there's order, but I couldn't figure it out myself. Anyway. Mary, you're going to share your screen and go?
Yeah.
Pick up where we left off?
Yeah, that was amazing. Okay. So we're back to exploring use cases. And I wanted to, first I wanted to say I'm part of the mapping team and I've been part of the community of practice for several years now. My informal roles are reflection and learning catalyst, witness, and sense maker. And that gives you a little context for why I was interested in Jim's idea of looking at use cases. Just stepping back again too, in terms of those informal roles, for a few years, I've been looking as we do Monday sessions, asking Christine for the videos or transcripts of those sessions and trying for my own learning to take the content from that and build on that, put it together. So it wasn't that unusual for me to be interested in Jim's idea and looking at all the on-ramps and putting together sort of a whole picture of what that looked like, what the whole look like, what the differences, similarities, patterns, and so on. So it was sort of my way of making sense of just the whole landscape. I also envisioned in my imagination, I thought if we were able to look at all of the uses of social systems mapping, that someday that maybe we could map the uses that would create a picture of a new story in social systems mapping contribution to that. I can talk about that briefly a little later. There were other motivations as well. About a year ago, I think in a deep dive, Christine expressed the need to create a bridge between a basic understanding of social systems mapping that has been created through all the basic sessions and more emergent forms. And I thought by making details more available about the various maps, it would help bridge that gap from basic understanding to a more sort of next steps in looking at more emergent picture. I also saw that members of the community, through the map and through the survey, I could see that people, when there's a question on the survey saying, what do you want to get from this community? And people often said that they wanted examples of social systems mapping. And yeah, I think that's sort of the context for this exploration. So I began the project by listening to over 20 presentations and taking notes. I had a worksheet, and Jim helped sort of me organize sort of, the sort of various things I would look at. And then Christine, as I mentioned, came in and offered Coda to enter all of that data in. So I noticed we think of the presenters sometimes as mappers, but what I noticed is that the people presenting the maps were not just developers or mappers. They were people involved with complexity and systems thinking, social and ecological science, researchers, regenerative designers, consultants, working with leadership and organizational culture and learning, process designers, facilitators, community activists and organizers, network catalysts and network weavers. So that was a rich picture. What did I learn? For years, I have longed for a paradigm shift of thinking there would be this moment in time, and maybe similar to what we all hoped when Barack Obama was elected, that this time had come where entering a new era. And I think that was the picture I was holding in terms of a paradigm shift. And what I learned was, through the Obama election and through our work in the community of practice, is that it's a matter of small shifts, and maybe I'm going to click on this. This is a picture that we came across. I can't remember the origin of that. Christine, you can chime in on this. So this is a picture of, it's a variation of the iceberg of what we don't see, the structures, practices, spaces and interaction, behaviors and mindsets, what isn't visible, and what social system mapping helps make visible. And I realized in looking at all of the mapping presentations, maybe they weren't successful in achieving their purpose, because we're pioneering this effort. But there were all of these small shifts related to some of the things you see on the root, this graphic. So I live in California and experience earthquakes often. So similarly, there are all these shifts under our feet, so to speak, in relationship to social systems mapping, and we can sort of feel all of those shifts. In our mapping team, we try each week as we begin the meeting to recognize those shifts that are happening. But part of this project may open up for the community of practice to look at those shifts more often. And I want to go back to I'm fumbling here, going back to Coda. Let me see. Just hold on a minute. Here we are. So the small shifts are part of the learning. Let's see what else.
Do you want to be sharing right now, Mary? Not
I
sure.
do. And
Okay, you're not.
I'm not. Okay. I don't know.
Would
I'm
you,
sort of,
would you like me to share?
that would be great.
Where do you want me to go?
To the Coda.
Got it. To the use case table?
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Okay,
Great.
can you see it?
Yep, I can see it. Can you get rid of the left-hand panel?
Yep.
That's great.
So just tell me what you want to do. I'm going to mute myself, but just. give me
Okay.
directions. Just-
Okay, that's great.
Okay.
So some of the things I noticed in looking at the use cases, as I mentioned, I looked at over 20 use cases. So yeah, Christine, you can scroll down. And we're
all going to get a chance to look at this together.
we'll be
in a
looking
little
at
bit, so.
those in a breakout group in just a few minutes. And then Christine, if you want to scroll horizontally, the things I looked at were the purpose of the map, the the areas of work, the different uses, the views. There are several columns that you'll be looking at. How am I doing on time, Jim?
You're good. You got like 2 minutes.
Okay. So I learned a lot of things looking at the similarities, the differences, the relationships in between. One of the things that is quite simple that we usually overlook is just simply the directory view of maps that we tend to think they're very simple, but I think they're profound in changing our a picture of who we are, and for networks to be able to see themselves. Many presenters talked about the strength or the directory view as being robust, a way of orienting, a way of people being able to see themselves within a network and to see see the network itself as a whole. And another thing that struck me, I'm just going through just a few things where I think, especially if we bring a more linear mindset to mapping, maps can look static and abstract, and yet there were maps that worked on urgent matters, a few maps related to COVID-19 and efforts that were urgent. And it was interesting looking at those. And there were maps related to inclusion of maps giving voice to researchers and leaders in the global South. And that was interesting. But in the end, Jim and I found like 45 uses of maps. So Amy used that word treasure trove, and I sort of think of that when I think of this whole group of maps and the different uses. And Jim is taking that a step further, and we'll be taking a peek at that at the very end of this session. So Jim, do you want to move us into groups?
Sure. Thanks, Mary.
Can I suggest to make a really quick suggestion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to I should have stopped sharing my screen, but just to show them how they can open up each one and see the details in the card as opposed to.
Okay, that would be great.
Okay, so the table has each column is also represented as so you can pop the whole thing open and see various, all the fields here.
I never do that. That's great. Of course.
That's the equivalent
I do it everywhere else.
my worksheet. Yeah.
Yeah. So that, and I just realized that the fields maybe this form could use a little more, like this should be showing, and I can be doing that while I can do it right here. But yeah. So there's some fields that that are hidden at the moment, which we will change. But anyway, you can see all the fields per map or per presenter in the card. So, and some of them have more information. That's it. I'm done with my intervention.
Thank you, Christine.
Thanks. So Mary keeps talking about Jim's use case. These ideas, I mean, this is a very cool example of people in the community wanting to ask the question of why map, show me examples or whatever.
Mhm.
And so, you know, it attracted me, it attracted Mary, it's going to attract you. And all these coins, these 20, 26 coins, they're lying on the bottom of the ocean, and Mary's raked them up and put them into a treasure box for us. And so the idea is, what do you all do with that the thing that she's collected? I mean, and the other thing to note, I think, is the audacity of Mary's vision is like a paradigm shift, right? That's Christine's vision. And yet those small changes that she's talking about were her putting together this, you know, this table of stuff. She went through 20, 30 hours of videos. You know, it's like, amazing. So what a gift. And it's all volunteers here. So just following people's own passion. So we're going to get a chance here to see if your passion gets sparked at all. We're going to go into breakouts of 3, just so you can be in a little room for 5 minutes. And so you can explore this map. I mean, not this map, but this chart. And Christine's put a link in the chat to the table. So open that up if you will. And just in the next, we're going to be in breakouts for 5 minutes. And let me just share my screen really quick.
Jim, I just,
Denise, did you have a question? Yeah.
It's more of a comment. I'm really sorry that I have to leave, but this is amazing, Mary, and thank you for supporting Jim. I did not know this existed, and it's just helped me already. I can see how it can help me immensely in thinking through how I want to do the mapping that I'm already doing with Christine. So I just wanted to say kudos, and I'm going to watch the rest of the recording when I get back from my appointment, but I have an appointment at noon that I couldn't change. But thank you. It was really great. It's
Thanks for the
amazing.
props,
It's amazing.
Denise.
Honestly, I didn't know this existed.
We'll come back to you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So basically, if you can open up the table, has anybody not got the table open? I'm not seeing everybody's face here. Holler if you don't have the table open. Just come off mic and holler. Okay, so I'm assuming you've got it open, and all we're going to do is just take a look at the columns, and maybe the easiest way to do it is, as Christine says, hit one of the expand buttons on one of those, and you'll see all the columns basically, and just get familiar. Take a minute to get familiar with what data Mary has extracted from these videos and the presentations, and then thumb down through the rows just to see the breadth of stuff that's there, and then explore. And you're going to be in this little group with each other. Don't take time doing introductions and so forth. Just I had this image of just notice each other, be present with each other, as if you were viewing an exhibit at a museum and you came up with random strangers looking at something like that. Okay. So if you, Kara, would put us into groups, might as well put all of us in the groups of 3 or whatever works best for like 5 minutes. And I would love to be in a group.
yes.
Okay, we're back. Did we lose somebody besides?
Yeah,
David.
David.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. So hope that was interesting. Let me just
Mary, you're muted.
share a slide to show you where we're at now for the next few minutes. These discussion prompts take a few minutes, and this is sort of, we're a small group, open discussion, but also, because Christine is recording this, but also put in the chat as things come up for you, if that feels even more comfortable. Just the ways that I want to look at these 3 questions. What ways can you, or do you think we can use what's here right now, we as the larger community of practice? But other, what ways can you use what's here right now? And then we'll spend a few minutes looking at what other questions might we be asking map authors about their maps? What other columns might we collect going forward? And then finally, what else might come from this work? But just for a few minutes right now, let's focus on the first one. Just open up your mic and come on and briefly, what can you see about how you might use what's here now, or how we might as a community?
I'm curious about the purpose codes and wanting to, can I get all of the ones that have to do with learning together? And then maybe see, if I got those that have a similar purpose together, what might be discovered.
Mhm.
I've been really scared to use Kumu after I tried to use it on a really bad computer like 5 years ago or something. And I'm glad to see that it looks like it's working for most people. So it's giving me renewed faith to try again. And this will be a good jumping off point.
Sherry, you might also note that Kumu has just changed their basic editor to be even more user-friendly, so that instead of going into the advanced editor directly with a bunch of code, you can get a lot of what you want just saying, I need this decoration, I need this. But
yeah, that's a lot better than creating stickies and mural and moving them around. So thank you.
Hi, my name's Evan, and I think that Christine had sent me a version of this map, this table, like 2 months ago when I was looking for examples of dual elements maps that were public, that I could poke around at as I was considering building or using that feature in that tier, and then found that most of the dual elements maps were private, but still got some great examples of maps to look at. And I've basically been using the reamp map like as my look what we can do to like everybody that I work with. And so thanks to Christine for connecting me with Sarah Shanahan, who's was the presenter and the app administrator. But I think for like proof of concept for creating buy-in for the map, especially in the early stages before map users can like fully appreciate what it's capable of, to be able to point them to similar things has been really helpful. And I think like for Sarah's map, or sorry, for the reamp map, I wonder if there's a good filter for this or a good code, because the thing that maybe actually all maps have this, or maybe this is under views, thinking out loud. I really like the way that the reamp map has filters and segments, and that's like a key thing that we're trying to figure out how to do, like what categories do we want kind of thing. And so that's like that type of assets, like what is this map strength that makes it a good teaching tool or demonstration tool might be useful. I think that is what the views code can do by highlighting those things. So.
Thanks, Evan.
Evan, I thought of reamp 2 years ago in terms of network leadership. Reamp was always, because people wanted a good example of a network, and it was an article about reamp that I always pointed people to. So it's nice to hear you doing the same thing. Something with reamp that I noticed when I was listening to the presentation again was Sarah talking about how they have this bold vision and they're using systems thinking, that social systems mapping allowed them to look at themselves and their part in how they looked at themselves along with systems thinking and achieving that vision.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a purpose code, or not a purpose code, but maybe an interesting column would be like a an aha or a surprise that came from the map. Like if they said it during the presentation, like I was fortunate enough to have a one-on-one with Sarah. Sarah gave me like at least 3 examples of like really like utility of the map that they didn't quite expect, or that they could only do because they had the map. One of them was like identifying potential like advisory board members using the social network analysis to understand like who is well connected but undertapped. And so like that was things like that have been really helpful in my own buy-in in the map, and showing off Reamp is knowing how it's been so generative for them.
That's great.
I just want to say it's going to take me like a couple hours to digest this, and I might have an idea then or a comment. But this is a lot, but it's super good. So thank you.
Yeah, there's still
You know, in our
a
go ahead,
little
Mary.
more to do. I was just noticing with Christine showed the map for the, what's the long name? Your last on-ramp.
The transformation systems
Yeah,
analysis working group.
yeah. And when she showed the survey, I saw the purpose clearly in that introduction to the survey she showed, and that I'm going to go back and put in. Someone else was about to speak.
Oh, I was just in our small group, Tom, talking about it digesting in the first like 6 seconds. He said, Laura Castelli's work looks really interesting, and opened it up, and down there hit on the button for the map. And in her map immediately is a 10-minute video, a really nicely done video with music and so forth that explains the purpose in German, I think. But of the work, so embedded in these maps are all sorts of richness that I have not explored. And this is, I think your point is well taken, Tom. This is a treasure trove that you've put together, Mary, that is going to take a while to mine, and it's going to be so useful.
Anyone else?
I mean, I'll definitely, it's interesting. Next week, I'm with a whole group of a national group of city transformation leaders. And the 2 resources, one, the root system diagram you did before, as well as these, I think will be very helpful in just showing there's no way they're going to understand where we're going with this, but at least it gives them a pathway and some examples for those that are curious. So the timing couldn't be better. And thank you.
Okay. Well, maybe
So,
I could, what? Go ahead,
Mary,
Jim.
I'm sorry. No.
A few, are we going on to the next? Or are we
No,
in?
no, we've got 3 or 4 more minutes here, and then we can go to
Okay.
the last 5 minutes. I'm sorry, Mary. You're right. Jump in.
Okay. Some ideas I thought of were that an article could be written about the various uses of social systems maps. And just the fact, another point was that I already covered, just because a map wasn't successful overall, there are still reasons to point to that map for the elements that were successful, as in the case of Christine's recent on-ramp. where she showed dual elements that were introduced in that map. There's, I think, dialogue possibility of looking at people doing similar things, of work that's been done and is being done in the global South to give more visibility to leaders and researchers, give more voice. We also want to, as a result of this work, create an outline for future presenters so that some basic points are covered, and so there won't be gaps in information. And then the possibility that inspired me of, I have this imagination of a map of maps of the different disciplines or areas of work in transformation, and being able to see that mapped as a whole picture. And then Jim also he's taking it further. One of the things we can look at are the stages of development that communities go through with their maps, and looking at that in relationship to these maps. As I mentioned, people have asked for a successful map, and that question is always difficult because we haven't fully realized the potential of the social system mapping. If you've heard Christine show the graphic that we've been working on, there are maps that are in proximity of, realizing the potential, but sometimes, or most often, they're client maps and private maps. Christine, I don't know if you want to add something there. I see.
No, I'm just wanting to make sure we honor our top of the hour,
Yes.
and that we introduce the next.
Right. Yes.
And Jim, if
So,
you're planning on doing that, I'll get out of it. I just want to.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we've
Jim-
got 5 minutes here to wrap up.
Okay.
But Mary, did you want to take a minute and just a reflection on anything that you heard today that?
Well, it was good to hear that the use case map, or the page on Coda, was already used and in use, and I think some of the ideas that were talked about go into the work that you're doing, Jim. And I also heard that just clicking on, for instance, Laura's map brought even more things and more life to this picture. And Tom brought, which I understand, the need that actually this table can be helpful in moving people from seeing mapping as abstract to see how it's being used in the world across different disciplines. And also the root sort of graphic in that respect of the maps representing changes in mindsets and values and structures and practices, so on. So Jim, I really want to hear from you.
Just, you know, the theme that Mary had of having the big picture and then this micro picture of moving us forward little step by step, I realized the work that I've done is similar to that. I'm sort of a big picture person. And on the other hand, here's what we'll get into on the next deep dive is I've taken that information that Mary has. Here's the 26 different things and come up with, as Mary said, like we've come up with like 45 different uses and which maps use them. And then this is coding them by frequency, and you can start to see sort of tiers of usage, perhaps. I don't know, this is what went on in my brain. But anyway, yeah, there's so many ways to nerd out on this. And on the next deep dive, I'll show you how I've nerded out on it, and am really interested to see. Oh, the last thing I was going to say is, so if we can take how we're using this treasure trove that Mary's put together and bring it back into the community, how you've used it, and so that it doesn't just like go out, but it comes back in circle, so that we're a continuously learning organization. That would be really cool. We need to think of some way to invite you back in to do that, and to have other people who weren't here today start to use this and invite them back in. So, and I think we're at the top of the hour and we're done with our gig. Christine.
Okay, so we'll do our little goodbye ritual, which is all unmute. And when I'll count down 3, 2, 1, and when we get to 1, we'll just all give each other our blessings and our well wishes for the rest of the day. And so let's unmute and go ahead. 3, 2, 1. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Great day.
Have a wonderful week. Bye.